What if I told you that craving love might be the very thing keeping you from finding peace? Sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? We've been taught to believe that love is the ultimate goal, the missing piece to our puzzle. But here's the hard truth. Constantly chasing love can leave you feeling emptier than ever. Think about it. How often have you sacrificed your own needs, your own identity, just to feel wanted? It's exhausting, isn't it? Yet, society glorifies this struggle, romanticizing the idea that we're incomplete without someone else. But here's the twist. What if you didn't need to crave love to feel whole? What if the real secret to fulfillment lies in letting go of that desperate longing? Imagine waking up one day and realizing that your worth isn't tied to someone else's approval. Imagine finding a sense of peace so profound that you no longer feel the need to search for it in others. That's what we're diving into today. A journey to understand why craving love might be holding you back and how to reclaim your emotional freedom. So, if you've ever felt trapped by the endless cycle of seeking validation through relationships, this is your wake-up call. By the end of this, you'll see why stopping the chase isn't giving up. It's leveling up. Ready to challenge everything you thought you knew about love? Let's get started. Is it normal not to desire anyone anymore? This question often carries a weight of confusion and self-doubt, doesn't it? Society has conditioned us to believe that desire, whether romantic or physical, is a constant, unshakable part of being human. But what if it isn't? For some, the absence of desire stems from emotional wounds, like unhealed traumas or the scars of past relationships. For others, it might be a natural phase of introspection, a moment of reconciling with their own needs rather than chasing external validation. And yes, it's entirely normal. Desire isn't a universal constant. It ebbs and flows, shaped by your experiences, emotions, and even our biology. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. The misconceptions around sexuality and emotional detachment. Many people confuse a lack of desire with something being wrong with them. But here's the truth. Sometimes, the absence of longing is a sign of healing, of stepping away from the need for approval or the pressure to conform to societal norms. Imagine someone who's spent years in a toxic relationship. Their lack of desire afterward isn't a flaw. It's a protective mechanism, a way of reclaiming their emotional space. It's like a reset button for the heart, allowing them to focus on their own growth before opening up again. But here's where it gets tricky. How do you know if your lack of desire is a phase of healing or a symptom of deeper emotional wounds? This is where self-reflection becomes crucial. Ask yourself, are you avoiding desire because of fear of rejection, abandonment, or being hurt again? Or is it because you're finally finding peace within yourself? The answer lies in understanding your own narrative, your own history. And speaking of history, let's explore how our past relationships leave their mark on us, shaping not just our desires, but our entire emotional landscape. The need for validation often begins in childhood, where seeds of approval are planted by those closest to us. Think back, were you praised only when you achieved something? Did love feel conditional? Like it had to be earned rather than freely given? For many, this creates a deep emotional wound, leaving them feeling invisible unless they're performing or pleasing others. A child who grows up unseen becomes an adult constantly seeking external approval, as if their worth depends on someone else's acknowledgement. And here's the kicker. This cycle can feel endless, unless we pause to recognize it. Unhealed emotional wounds from childhood often manifest as an insatiable hunger for validation. It's like trying to fill a bottomless cup. No matter how much praise or approval you receive, it never feels enough. This is why so many people find themselves stuck in toxic relationships or overworking themselves just to hear, "You did a good job." But here's the truth. The validation you're chasing can only come from within. Start small. Acknowledge your own efforts. Celebrate your own wins, even if no one else does. It's not easy, but it's a step toward breaking free from the chains of external approval. So, how do you begin healing this need for validation? It starts with self-awareness and self-compassion. Reflect on the moments when you felt invisible or unworthy. Write them down if you can. It's a powerful exercise. Then, ask yourself, what would your younger self need to hear in those moments? Say those words to yourself now. This isn't about blaming the past, but about rewriting the narrative. And as you begin this journey you'll notice something remarkable. The memories of past relationships and their lingering impacts start to make more sense. Memories of these relationships have a way of lingering, don't they? But here's the thing. remembering doesn't mean you haven't moved on. It's a common misconception that moving on equals forgetting. But that's not how the human mind works. Memories are part of your story, your history. They shape who you are today, for better or worse. Think of them like chapters in a book. You don't rip out the pages just because the story has progressed. Instead, you carry them with you, not as baggage, but as lessons. It's natural for certain moments to resurface. A song, a scent, or even a random thought can bring back vivid memories. But instead of fighting them, what if you embraced them? These memories don't define your present. They're simply echoes of a past that helped you grow. For example, someone might remember the laughter they shared with an ex, not because they want them back, but because it was a moment of genuine connection. It's okay to feel nostalgic. It doesn't mean you're stuck. It means you're human. The key is to differentiate between cherishing memories and living in them. If you find yourself replaying the same scenes over and over, ask yourself why. Are you holding on to regret? Or are you afraid of what comes next? Understanding this can help you let go of what no longer serves you while keeping the lessons close. And as we explore the marks that relationships leave on us, it's important to acknowledge that some marks are permanent. Have you ever tried to smooth out a crumpled piece of paper? No matter how much effort you put in, the creases remain, don't they? Relationships after conflicts are much the same. Once a bond is strained, it's nearly impossible to restore it to its original state. But here's the twist. Those marks, those creases, can carry meaning. They tell a story of resilience, growth, and lessons learned. The question isn't whether the relationship can go back to what it was. It's whether those marks can be embraced as part of its new form. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as forgetting, but the two couldn't be more different. You can forgive someone for their mistakes, yet still carry the memory of what happened. And that's okay. Those memories act as boundaries, remind us of what you've endured and what you deserve moving forward. For instance, couples might reconcile after a fight, but the way they communicate will forever be shaped by that experience. The relationship may never feel the same, but it can evolve into something stronger if both parties are willing to grow. But what about the relationships that remain marked yet serve no purpose anymore? Not every bond is meant to last, and that's a hard pill to swallow. Some connections teach us what we need to know and then fade away. The beauty lies in recognizing their value, even if they're no longer part of your life. And as we explore this idea of marked relationships, it ties into something deeper. The validation of your own experiences, even when they don't align with societal expectations. Not desiring anyone anymore doesn't make you broken. It makes you human. Society loves to paint a picture of what normal should look like. But the truth is, there's no universal standard for desire or connection. Sometimes, the absence of longing is a sign of emotional fullness, not emptiness. It's the difference between feeling whole on your own versus seeking someone else to fill a void. Imagine someone who's finally found peace after years of chasing approval in relationships. Their lack of desire isn't a flaw. It's a reflection of their newfound plenitude. But, let's be honest, there's a fine line between peace and avoidance. Are you truly content, or are you shielding yourself from vulnerability? This is where reconciling with yourself becomes crucial. It's about validating your experience without judgment. For example, if you've chosen to step away from romantic pursuits, ask yourself why. Is it because you've found joy in your own company? Or is it because you're afraid of being hurt again? Both answers are valid, but understanding the why is the first step toward emotional clarity. When you embrace this phase of your life, you'll notice something remarkable. The absence of desire doesn't feel like a loss. Instead, it feels like freedom, a chance to reconnect with yourself without the noise of societal expectations. You're not bitter, you're just at peace. And as you begin to challenge the cultural narrative that ties your worth to relationships, you'll uncover a deeper truth. Your existence is valid with or without a partner. Have you ever noticed how society seems obsessed with the idea of romantic desire? From movies to social media, we're constantly fed the narrative that being in a relationship is the ultimate goal. But here's the uncomfortable truth. This cultural obsession often creates more harm than good. It imposes the belief that your existence is only valid if someone else desires you. Think about it. How many people stay in toxic relationships just to avoid the stigma of being single? This pressure isn't tidigt unfair. It's suffocating. The myth of romantic fulfillment is deeply ingrained in our culture, but it's time to question it. Why should desire, or the lack of it, define your worth? The truth is, there are countless ways to live a meaningful life. And not all of them involve romantic partnerships. For example, someone who chooses to focus on their career, friendships, or personal growth isn't any less complete than someone in a relationship. Yet, society often romanticizes the idea of couple goals while ignoring the diversity of valid, fulfilling lifestyles. Breaking free from these societal expectations isn't easy, but it's liberating. It starts with recognizing that the standards imposed on you are just that, imposed. They're not universal truths. Ask yourself, whose approval are you really seeking, and why? When you stop measuring your life against cultural norms, you create space for your own definition of happiness, and as you redefine what it means to live fully, you'll discover that vitality and youthfulness aren't tied to age or relationships. They come from within. Aging is often seen as a countdown, a slow march toward But what if aging isn't about the years you've lived, but the energy you carry within? Vitality isn't tied to your biological age. It's a reflection of your inner state. Think about someone who radiates peace and joy. They seem timeless, don't they? That's because their youthfulness comes from within, from a sense of emotional balance and so. It's not about chasing external markers of youth, but nurturing your internal spark. The secret to staying young lies in your connection to your inner self, your internal compass, your youthful spirit. When you're at peace with who you are, you naturally exude a sense of vitality. For instance, someone who prioritizes their mental and emotional health through practices like mindfulness, journaling, or simply taking time to breathe often feels more alive than someone constantly chasing external validation. It's not about avoiding wrinkles or gray hair. It's about cultivating a sense of joy and curiosity that transcends age. But here's the catch. Society often equates vitality with productivity or appearance. This couldn't be further from the truth. True vitality comes from living authentically, from embracing your story, flaws, scars, and all. It's about finding peace in the present moment, rather than clinging to the past or fearing the future. And as you explore this idea of inner vitality, you might notice something else. The way you view others, whether with compassion or pity, often reflects your own emotional state. Pity is a tricky emotion. At first glance, it might seem like compassion, but dig a little deeper, and you'll see it's often rooted in something else entirely. Pity can feel condescending, like looking at someone through a distorted emotional lens that magnifies their struggles. While minimizing their strength, it's not always about them, it's about you. Sometimes, pity is a projection of your own unhealed wounds, a way of seeing in others what you fear or dislike in yourself. Recognizing this can be uncomfortable, but it's also liberating. True compassion, on the other hand, doesn't come with judgment or superiority. It's about meeting someone where they are without trying to fix them. For example, if a friend is going through a breakup, pity might sound like, "Oh, you poor thing, you'll never find someone better." Compassion, however, says, "I see how much this hurts, and I'm here for you." The difference lies in empathy. Compassion connects, while pity creates distance. And when you start to notice the difference, you'll realize how often pity is an emotional inconvenience, both for you and the person on the receiving end. But why do we fall into the trap of pity so easily? Sometimes it's because we're addicted to the role of the rescuer. Helping others can feel validating, but it can also become a crutch, a way to avoid dealing with our own issues. Ask yourself, are you drawn to saving others because it makes you feel needed? Or is it because you genuinely want to help? Understanding this distinction is key to breaking the cycle. And as you reflect on your own emotional patterns, you'll see how self-awareness and self-care play a crucial role in navigating these feelings. Emotional self-awareness is like turning on a light in a dark room. It reveals what's been hiding in the corners of your mind. It's about recognizing your feelings, not just as fleeting emotions, but as messages from within. For instance, when you feel anger, is it masking hurt? When you feel envy, is it pointing to an unmet desire? By pausing to ask yourself these questions, you begin to understand the why behind your emotions rather than just reacting to them. This awareness is the foundation of emotional maturity. But here's the catch. Self-awareness isn't always comfortable. It requires you to confront parts of yourself you might rather ignore. For example, have you ever felt resentment towards someone, only to realize later it was because they mirrored something you dislike about yourself? This is where empathy, both for yourself and others, comes into play. By acknowledging your own flaws and triggers, you can approach relationships with greater understanding and less projection. It's not about being perfect. It's about being honest with yourself. The beauty of emotional self-awareness is that it leads to better. Once you understand your emotional needs, you can start meeting them in healthy ways. Feeling overwhelmed? Maybe it's time to set boundaries. Feeling unappreciated? Perhaps you need to validate yourself instead of waiting for others to do it. This journey isn't about fixing yourself. It's about reconnecting with who you are. So, what's stopping you from breaking free? What's holding you back from letting go of the endless chase for love and finding peace within yourself? The truth is, the answers you've been searching for in others have been inside you all along. But here's the challenge. Are you ready to stop looking outward and start looking inward? Are you ready to validate your own existence without needing someone else to do it for you? It's a bold step, but one that could change everything. Imagine what your life could look like if you stopped craving love and started embracing yourself. What would it feel like to wake up every day knowing that your worth isn't tied to anyone else's approval? It's time to stop living by society's rules and start creating your own. So, here's my question for you. Will you take the first step toward emotional freedom today, or will you keep waiting for someone else to give you permission to live fully? If this resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss another chance to grow, reflect, and transform. Your journey doesn't end here. It's just beginning. Let's keep walking this path together. And as you embrace this process, you'll find that the tools you've gained can transform not just your relationship with yourself, but with the world around you.